Hello and welcome everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Mark from diabetesdietguy.com. I also have a services page, markgreennutrition.co.uk, where I help people improve their health through diet and exercise coaching. Now presumably if you've clicked through, you too are curious about why protein shakes may be undoing your weight loss efforts. And trust me, you are certainly not alone with this. And it seems lately high protein diets are back in fashion, but they are certainly nothing new. Now it's certainly worth saying, in the right person, protein and protein shakes can be an absolute goldmine and really help people maximise their progress. But for the vast majority of people, they're just an expensive way to hinder your weight loss progress. You could say the only pounds they're losing is from their wallet. This is something I've seen quite frequently in clinic recently. I inherit clients who are seemingly doing all the right things. They are exercising regularly, they're trying to be better with their diet, and they're taking their protein shakes on the recommendation of usually their personal trainer. Yet their weight isn't moving and they cannot understand why. So let's look into why this might be. Unsurprisingly, it all starts with marketing. The fitness industry has rather expertly positioned protein shakes as an essential addition to any exercise that we do. And this can be even after the mildest of workouts. Without realising it, we've slowly become a nation of protein junkies who just cannot get enough of our quick fix. This creates a top-down environment where the industry sets itself up to have this high protein culture. Trainers then catch wind of this, and perhaps they haven't quite had enough training on nutrition to think laterally, and therefore they start implementing this into their own plans. Before you know it, everyone thinks they need to be on a high protein diet. But we need to remember, protein isn't just free calories. Just because it's high protein, it doesn't give you a free pass to eat as much of it as you want. Now to define high protein, we usually work off somewhere between 1.5 to 2 plus grams per kilogram of body weight. So taking me as an example, being a massive 5'8" and 74 kilograms, I'd be working off somewhere between 111 to 148 grams of protein per day. Now trying to reach 148 grams of protein per day would actually be quite a big ask for me because I enjoy a lot of the other food groups. So something would have to give in order to get that amount of protein into my diet. I also mix up my training. I swim, I run when my back allows, I do circuits, I do resistance training. So I do a lot of different things which doesn't necessarily justify that high protein intake. Protein does have its benefits though. It's our most satiety giving nutrient, which means it fills us up for the longest. It does also help repair our muscles after exercise and just general day-to-day wear and tear. But this doesn't mean you have to eat as much as a bodybuilder in order to reap these benefits. So hopefully you're starting to get an idea of what the problem might be. Your diet should be a reflection of what you're doing in your training and your day-to-day life. To justify this amount of protein and having shakes throughout the day, you really need to be accumulating the necessary volume of training, which might be someone like a pro athlete who trains a lot of hours in the week, or someone who's training specifically for strength or bodybuilding. These guys will be training multiple hours purely based on resistance, where they're breaking down the muscle and doing enough musculoskeletal work which then justifies the amount of protein that they're putting into their bodies. And it can be quite hard to have the necessary calories going in, so they have to rely on supplements like protein shakes in order to get the necessary calories and protein. The other thing to point out is with bodybuilders and strength athletes, often they'll go through cycles where they bulk up and have excessive amounts of calories, sometimes topping 5,000-6,000 calories a day. So obviously the protein's going to go up with that. And that allows them to put on the mass to gain strength, but then that will be followed by a fat reduction phase where they start to limit the amount of calories that they have, and thus the protein will also fall alongside that. Now most of the patients that I encounter, they might be exercising quite frequently, but they will not be accumulating the same amount of volume, intensity, or specific training like these athletes that I just mentioned. So as a result, adding in protein into the equation is just excessive amount of calories, particularly if they're going to go home and eat anyway. So if you're going to do a 45-minute circuit class, you really don't need to be having a protein shake after that. Just go home and eat your meal. The other thing to think about is if you're trying to follow a high protein diet without the actual goal of being a bodybuilder, gaining muscle mass or strength training, then what you're actually doing is just cutting into your other nutrients in your diet that might be better suited for weight loss. Let's go back to my example. If I was hitting that 148 grams of protein per day, that's quite a lot of my calorie distribution designated to protein. I just won't be able to eat that amount of food if I'm also trying to get my 5 a day in and have carbohydrates. So something's got to give. So for weight loss, a better way to approach it, particularly if you are someone that's mixing up the training and not training specifically for bulk, would be to cut back on the protein, add in some fruit and vegetables, have more variety, have more balance, it's more sustainable, and really an important point, much more enjoyable. The only exception to this rule I would say is if you're using the protein shakes as a meal replacement. You might be on your way to work and it's just a convenient way of getting in breakfast, then fine, use them in that sense. But if you're adding these protein shakes onto additional food in the hope that it will kickstart some weight loss, then actually what you're doing is probably just adding excessive calories in, which you don't really need, and therefore it hinders your weight loss attempts. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe below, or if you're interested in joining the community, then go onto Facebook and search Diabetes Diet Guy, join the community, follow along, interact with the members, and hopefully I will see you soon, guys.